Welcome back to Have You Found Your Crown? Episode 2, Season 1. I'm gonna entitle this one, I've been building Godly since 2014. Here's the truth. So today I'm definitely going to be a little bit more intimate and I guess a little bit more vulnerable in the upscale of Godly within building a brand and within building a business in general. I think within today's episode, we're definitely going to get into the fact of like sometimes it may take a decade plus of building something, of putting your heart into something, of putting your mindset into something, your thoughts into something, your sweat into something, and it not really catching on like you thought it may. So the whole thing of building and scaling and having faith in yourself and having faith in your brand. I mean, these things, it comes with the territory of business. It comes with the territory of building something. And especially if something worthwhile having, I promise you, it's going to have its trials and tribulations. But when you get to the other side and you look back, you'll see that all of what you go through and all of the progression, whether it was slow or fast, whichever, it all scales back into one meaning. Have you found your crown? And within finding your crown, like we discussed on episode 1, it takes a lot. So today we're going to specifically get into, like I said, scaling Godly, building it a decade plus, and yeah, let's get into it. So in today's episode, I've been building Godly since 2014. Here's the truth. I think today's theme is the reality of building a brand for a decade plus and what that actually entails. From having faith within yourself, getting through a lot of long nights, getting through a lot of moments where you're up. I don't think a lot of people talk about that within success too. You know, there's a wave of within progression. There's ups and there's downs, and I don't think that a lot of people, you know, give the advice of when you're up to take in those moments, but not in the moments of the feeling. And yeah, the feeling is amazing, and I want you to embrace that. But also within those moments, learn. The same way you learn from your mistakes, learn from your wins, learn from your triumphs, for you to continue those, and you can continue to have those skill sets. You know what I mean? And I think that that's something that I'm finally starting to learn within the moments of where my business has scaled and where I'm up and where I have amazing moments and where things actually, go through and fall through. I've learned to learn from those, and for I can scale from those moments and bring them in moments where I may need help, where I'm, a little lower at times, whether that's in marketing, whether that's in production, because when you are a person that's going to wear many hats, you got to understand that there's going to have to be a gas pedal that you're going to have to go back to, always. And within building a business, that is something that you're going to always have to continue to find within yourself, your gas pedal. So let's talk about moments within business. And it's not just within clothing business. Like we said, this is within business where there's no sales. A lot of times with no sales comes no momentum. With no momentum comes no money. No real, push. In moments where there's no sales, you have to utilize what you have and your resources. So at the time, if you're not making sales and what you're pitching is not getting through to people, you have to use that time to scale back and maybe redo marketing, maybe redo or reapproach, how you're pushing out your product or how you're pushing out whatever you're looking to sell. I think a lot of times we may get caught up in our own mindsets and our own sense of we know better. And when you're dealing with business and you're dealing with the public and you're dealing with customers, you got to remember that it's just that you're dealing with customers. And within dealing with customers, you got to understand that not everyone is the same. And I think one of the beautiful things within business is that's an amazing thing, amazing lesson to be learned within the diversity of the customer and the diversity of how you're pursuing your customers. Because you can't pursue A the same way you do B, the same way you're going to go after C. So all three have to have their own scale and their own way of going about, like I said, sales. There's going to be a moment where there's going to be doubt, and I think is such a critical one. There has been plenty of times where I have doubted myself and doubted my designs, or doubted the way I did the website, or just, all facets of the business. And what I had to learn was that the first thing with doubt is that's a reflection of how you view yourself. People will always have an opinion. People will always, say this, say that. But you have to learn to, once again, go within yourself and have that gas pedal. That no matter what's being said, or no matter what the results are from a visual standpoint, what's inside is the faith that, oh, I'm going to get through. Oh, I'm going to push through. Oh, they may not get it right now, but they're going to get it at some point. So you got to understand that, like, that's a thing. And I feel that within business, you have to push through those first two to have that steady momentum and that steady gas pedal, because they're going to have a beginning stage of where you may have a dip in sales, or people coming to the website, or people coming to your store, or people coming to your business, or whatever it is. And then, like I said, from that will come doubt. And if you aren't able to withstand those moments of doubt, or those moments of you're not really having any sales, you're going to have a hard time getting through and pursuing this thing of business, because it's tough. And you got to know that this is also competition, and that because you're having a bad day or you're having a bad moment, that don't mean that everything else is going to be on pause. So you got to know that if you want to be in this world, and be in this world of business, which is always consistent, always growing, always at a fast pace, you got to learn to compartmentalize your feelings and the reality of where your business is. Staying consistent. I think staying consistent is probably one of the most crucial things that you can do within life. I always said one of the best things I learned early on was discipline. I really appreciate, my parents, my mom putting me in certain programs, or helping me gain that thing of being disciplined, because I don't feel like I always had that early on. And that is one blessing that I have now that has really driven me to find success in a lot of what I'm into. But you got to be consistent. And there's going to be times where you're going to feel like you're talking to yourself, where you're going to feel like you're designing for yourself, where everything is going to feel like within self. And it's nothing wrong with that, man, because it's all practice. You stay ready so you don't have to get ready. This is all real. And I know these are things that we hear all the time, and these are like the typical cliche things to say, but it's the truth. Staying consistent and being disciplined will get you to that next level. And if you look at anybody that's great, anybody that's worth following, you'll see that within them, definitely. And, I think once you kind of scale within all three of these, you get to a point where you realize why it's important to keep going. And I think the more you get through the first three stages of, finding consistency in your sales, getting through doubt, just staying consistent within your business, you'll definitely start to have a self-appreciation for what you're doing. And it's nothing greater than self-appreciation. And I think within self-appreciation, you'll start to reflect within your business. See, this is all real talk, because I don't think people also realize that your brand, your business, it all scales, it all is a reflection of you. Whether if you want to admit it or not, if you look at any one top in business, all of their businesses are a reflection of them. And how you carry yourself, how you move, how you push, how you pursue things, people watch and people are invested. That is the number one way I feel to get people drawn in, is to build something where people can feel like they're involved and feel like they're invested. And if you're not able to kind of push and pursue and pull through and show, how can you expect anyone else to grow an appreciation for your brand or an appreciation for what you're building? And this isn't for fast-paced, fast skills, quick flips. I don't do for those. So I will hope that anybody that's on that level will come, to this channel and come to this series and, gain some inspiration. But as far as what I'm talking about long-scale business. I'm talking about generational wealth type businesses. I'm talking about things that will be here and preserve much longer after you are. That's the mindset to have. And if you're on the flow of that, or on that type of realm, why wouldn't you want to keep going? Why wouldn't you want to keep building? Why wouldn't you want to see how far you can actually push and go and scale yourself? Forget the business, scale yourself. And remember this also, people only celebrate the outcome, not the years it took. So I don't care if it took you 20, 30, 10, 5, whatever. Just know that the amount of people that's going to be at the finish line is not going to be the amount of people rooting you on. And that's okay. I think the backscale to building incredible things and the backscale to being amazing, it's only for certain people, and it's not for the weak. And it's okay that you're going to have more people standing at the finish line, like I said, than cheering you on your race. But know that that's the greatest appreciation too, is when you able to look back and think back in all of those moments where, like I said, where you had to get through with your discipline and stay consistent, where you had to look around and you're not seeing the support, you're not seeing the views, you're not seeing the follows, you're not seeing the likes, you're not seeing the sales, but you still got faith that this thing is going to be pursued, that this, once people get it, they're going to get it. Like, you have to keep that energy going. Energy is real, and the energy that you put into your business, trust me, it will be reflected through your business. That's through whatever you post, through your website, through the marketing that you put out. You got to stay excited. You got to pursue excitement. And have joy about what you do. If you're not waking up loving what you do, then you're not living life. And maybe you shouldn't be pursuing that. Like I said, I know that people, they get into business to make money, and that's cool. But we're getting into businesses to sustain a culture, to sustain, family, to sustain generations, to sustain self-preservation. We want to be great within our business. We want to be great in what we pursue. So every day, you waking up, and what you pouring into yourself, you pouring into your business, what's pouring into the world. It all webs back together and all flows together. So like I said, this thing is much bigger. And anybody that's on this pursuit of chasing their crown, or have found their crown, and they're doing everything to protect it and everything to build it, just know that these are all the steps that it's going to take. It's going to take, like, once again, we're going back to the discipline. Once again, we're going back to the faith. Once again, we're going back to the understanding that it's going to take long nights, no sleep. You're going to miss certain things with friends. You're not going to be at all the cool hip events or whatever, but learn that all the sacrifices you're making webs back into what you're pursuing and what you're building. And once again, like I said, it's all the energy and all the reflection, and it all will be appreciated. So just continue to scale, continue to pursue, continue to push, stay consistent. Know that these are all chapters that's going into your story, that's writing your book. And just wake up excited every day about what you're pursuing and what you're putting out there. I appreciate everyone for checking out this episode of Have You Found Your Crown? If anything, I hope that you're able to walk away this episode with just some consistency and a commitment to stay consistent with yourself, with your business, with your brand, with whatever you're pushing. Keep a positive light. When you have low moments, throw this on, find some inspiration. And yeah, it'll always just be short and sweet. Just something you can go back to, retreat. And yeah, make sure you guys check me on the next episode. Appreciate y'all like always. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.